Oprah said.
Oh, these are her exact words. Allegedly.
I made this up. But
allegedly.
I made it all up. But there was a rumor that they were beefing. But Tyler confirms that they don't have any issues. So it says it was recently reported on the rumors that was swirling that the twosome were on the outs over constructive criticism of Perry's show. Well, I got some constructive criticism, and we can be on the outs, Tyler, and I don't give a damn, because I'm going to make a promo out of this anyway and share it to your page. I need the scenes on Have and Have Nots to be like 5% shorter, each one. I want you to watch an episode of The Young and the Restless, because this is supposed to be a soap opera. No one's dialogue on The Young and the Restless is like this. You don't have to talk about the random plant in the corner for 25 minutes on one damn scene.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hi, and welcome to Now We're Talking. We are so excited to be here with you guys today. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, everybody. We're back for another week.
We are back for another week. And if you have been with us, and if you are here today, please share. Please share. We are on our Now We're Talking page on Facebook, and we're also live on YouTube. So Be Exposed Radio. So make sure you tune in. We have such an exciting show tonight. Tonight we have an amazing power couple who owns Unlimited Human Resources, Unlimited Bounds Human Resources.
Human Services.
Oh, I want to see resources all
I know,
the time.
because it's right after human.
Yes, and you know what? They provide so many resources as well. And so we'll get into that. But as normal, we start with a step back and just talking about our wins for the week.
Yeah. I mean, this is a huge week for you.
It's a huge week.
Let's start with you.
I am so excited. I have so much adrenaline in me right now. Just to sit down is such a big deal. So I explained to Mervin that I feel like right after my TED Talk, when I did my TEDx talk in Youngstown, Ohio, I had all this energy inside of me, and it took 2 hours for me to kind of settle and be in a space where I was totally relaxed without all of this energy inside of me, and that's what I feel like right now. I was talking to my son right after school, and he's like, "Mommy, you're talking too fast. You're talking too fast." And you know what he said to me? It's hard for me to process.
Wow.
At 7.
Who's his mother?
Who's his mom? But I was like, who's this guy? So this week my wins are my TEDx talk was released. Yay!
Congratulations.
I'm so excited. Thank you so
awesome.
much. So we will post it on our Now We're Talking page, but you can also Google TEDx Youngstown Lolita Walker and it'll come up. I am really talking about how a disruption in your life can lead to a revelation or of you, a transformation of you, just sitting in it. And I'm just so excited about it. So excited.
Yeah.
So.
And I got to see it live.
So, yes. Yeah, right?
It was amazing the first time around. And Lolita was one of the first ones to get a standing ovation from the entire auditorium. It was really phenomenal. So if you didn't see it, live, you weren't there, definitely check it out on YouTube. The information will be all over Lolita's website, lolitawalker.com. And it's already posted all over social media as well. So
yes, thank you. And so I found out that it was posted. I knew that they were doing some work and they were going to be posting by the end of this week. And I was on my way driving to Baltimore. I did an event today. Shout out to Elva Tillman. She is a Morgan State grad and just is so phenomenal. She met me at the alumni day where I was the MC for that large crowd. And she came to me and said, you know what? I really want to have you be one of the authors that we showcase in our Thursdays at the museum at the Clarence Mitchell courthouse.
Wow.
And I went today, and it was just so amazing. So thank you so much, Elva. I so appreciate you. I appreciate the network of Morgan State University. And that was so powerful today. So I was there.
And she's a past guest to the show.
And she's a past guest to the show. We
Yeah.
have to link that
Yeah.
when we share it. So with all that being said, she had me in today, and on my way there, someone called me and said, "Hey, your TEDx talk is up." And so I couldn't really post how I wanted, but just sitting in the moment, I texted a couple of people, and I'm just so blessed that it has been shared already. So we appreciate you. Thank you. So I think that's my really big win. I'm claiming it.
Yeah.
My goal is to have 1 million views by December 31st, 2020. So I know each of you can help me do that. And so I'm looking forward to you sharing the link when you get it. Please take a look. And if it resonates with you, please like it and share it. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank
so
you.
proud.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. So what's your win for this week?
This week. So I had a personal goal as it relates to the first annual men's wellness retreat. And that was to get at least 5 attendees because it is going to be small. The maximum attendees is actually only 7.
Yep.
So we're almost sold out because I hit 5 this week.
Congratulations. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm so pumped. I've been, speaking to the different experts this week that I have coming and the vendors, and they're really excited about, the retreat. Just the whole concept of a men's retreat as opposed to a women's retreat or a couples retreat is just not what a lot of people are used to. And so people are really excited about it. And so just communicating with people that have already committed to coming has been really exciting. Just the feeling of getting a call or getting an email saying, "I heard about this, I stumbled on your ad, or someone told me about it, and I really want to come. What do I have to do?" Just thinking back to when it was just an idea.
I know, right here on the show.
Yes. It's just really reaffirming that, you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing, and that the things that you're doing, the things that you're putting out into the world are actually helping people.
I love it.
And responsible for positive change. So I'm really excited about that.
I am too. So I want to say kudos to that because I remember my first retreat and I remember the anxiousness and the excitement and the impact that you're going to make and making sure people knew the value that it is to come to this retreat. And so I know we don't have a lot of time in this first segment, but why don't you tell people while we have them, like what is the impact, what are they going to walk away with?
Sure. So, one of the main concepts behind the men's retreat is restoring balance to men's lives. And men, particularly men that have families, whether you have children or not, or if you're in a relationship or not, typically if you are in a professional space, you work very hard, you are under a lot of stress, you're oftentimes providing for many people outside of yourself. You're responsible for the lives of other people. You're responsible for the planning and the future of other people in addition to yourself. And it's very easy to get caught up in this cycle of striving and hustling and achieving and always trying to take it to the next level and the next level and the next level. And people have so many expectations of you. And, you can get caught in that cycle and the next thing you know, 10 years are gone, 15 years are gone, 20 years are gone, and you look up and you're old and you're stressed and your hair is gone and your health is not where it should be. And it does not only does it not have to be like that, it's not supposed to be like that. And balance is so important. So what the focus of the retreat is better men, better fathers, better futures is the theme of the retreat.
I love that.
It's going to focus on addressing, achieving balance through a holistic approach. So we have experts coming that are going to be addressing dietary health, spiritual health and wellness, goal setting, you're going to be there. You're one of my experts who's going to be approaching things from your professional perspective as far as affecting change. And I have someone coming, a physical fitness expert. So we're really hitting it from all angles. You know, and I'm just really, really excited about not just the people that are coming, but what they're going to leave with.
Absolutely.
And I think that what they're going to leave with is a renewed spirit.
Yep.
One of the ideas that I've been pushing and I'm aspiring to achieve is the idea of hitting the reset button.
Yeah.
And I want this to be a reset, and I want them to leave feeling refreshed and energized.
Yeah. I love that. So one of the things when I do my retreat, which is a women's weekend renewal retreat, a lot of men say, well, where's the men's retreat? Are you going to do a men's retreat? Can you do a men's retreat? And I was just so excited when you said, you know what, now's the time. I'm going to do a men's retreat. And I think that one of your posts was really about, why can't men retreat too? Absolutely, because the definition of retreat is really to withdraw. It's really to withdraw from hindrances or perceived chaos that's in your life. That is why you withdraw, because there's some hurt, harm, or danger that's coming your way. And that hurt, harm, or danger can actually be you. It could be the circumstances that surround you.
Yeah.
So a retreat is just to really say, you know what? Now it's time for me to sit in me for a minute and nourish all of me so that I can give back.
Right.
And so whether it's a women's retreat, a yoga retreat, or this men's retreat, I think it's so powerful for men, because when you think of a retreat, you don't naturally think men. Right? You don't naturally think men, but I think the power in what you're doing is hitting it from all of those different sides. And so I'm just really excited. So congratulations.
Thank you. And I almost forgot about the two most fun parts, massage therapy
Yep.
and mixology.
I was going to say
Yeah,
mixology.
so a professional mixologist will be on site to show us what to do.
Yeah, so look at that. So men, if you have not grabbed your tickets, you can find it at Mervin Bourne, BOURN.com/retreat, singular.
Yes.
Retreat?
Mervinbourne.com/retreat.
Good. Yeah, Mervinbourne.com/retreat. So get on that, okay? So let's talk about what we have going on tonight. You want to bring us in on that?
Yeah, so tonight we have two very special guests. We have Mr. Markis Johnson, who is the CEO of Unlimited Bounds Human Services, along with his partner in the business, Brandi Johnson, who is the COO. And this is a Baltimore City business. I believe they're based in Baltimore City, but providing services throughout the state of Maryland to both children and adults in the realm of behavioral health. And so we're really excited to talk to them to find out more about what they do, why behavioral health and providing behavioral health services is so critical to the needs of not just our community, but all communities all over the country, and what people should know about behavioral health and behavioral health services that they might not necessarily know.
Yeah, and I think the cool reason that we're having them this month is because we have been talking about mental health. So if you guys have been with us, we've been talking about mental health for the past 2 weeks, and we've had guests from Mary Angela Abayo, who is also a TEDx speaker, and she talked on surviving suicide. We were so blessed to have her on, and she is the founder of Faces of Fortitude, which is such a powerful pictorial and portrayal of those that's been affected by suicide. And what we talked about is every 40 seconds, someone commits suicide, right? Between the ages of 15 and 29, it's just amazing and astonishing how many of our youth are really committing suicide. So we talked about that. We talked about creating these sacred spaces where we're opening up the conversation and allowing people to come in.
Yeah, it's actually the second leading cause of death for young adults between the ages of 15 and 29 is suicide.
Yeah. And I wonder how many of our viewers have really been affected, know someone who has committed suicide, or know of someone who has committed suicide.
Or someone that's survived a suicide attempt.
Or have had suicidal thoughts, just something related to suicide. And I can say, I know I have. I know I've been affected by that.
Yeah.
And so it's just remarkable. So we were able to do that. We also talked with Manov And he was really talking about art therapy, especially as related to our children, when we find it difficult to really hear from our children because they're not able to express. When words fail, how do you get that out of them and understand the emotion that they're going through? So that was awesome. Next, we talked to Kiana Butler-Roberts and Tammy Mark, which was last week, and they really talked to us about depression, anxiety, stress. We talked about Alzheimer's. We talked about bipolar. One of our guests, Kiana, is a mental health first aid instructor, which is so amazing and interesting to hear about. And then Tammy has really been in the realm of mental health for over 10 years. Wow. So today we're going to be talking about behavioral health. So when we're back, we love to hear from you.
Now we're talking. Stay tuned.
Listen to BeExposedRadio.com. Check out this fire flashback.
We need to relearn what it is to be these bosses and how we conduct ourselves as business-minded individuals and just people in general. Yeah. I let my gut, and if I call it gut or God or whatever, I'm led by that energy. I know where it comes from. I know where it's, taking me, and you have to figure out what is important to you, and don't play this game. It's a game that we've learned to play, this chess game, and life is not a chess game. Life is real, bones, flesh, blood, decisions.
Make sure you check out the Artist Exchange Show every Monday and Friday at 2 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com.
You're like an internal bleeder. Can't see your pain, but it can silently kill ya. So deeply wounded, but don't say a thing. Too afraid of what the people may say or think. So you just sit there and you suffer in silence. Your pride won't let you just uncover your secret. Don't wanna look weak in your image, it ain't worth losing. So you just act as if it's nothing happening. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You're like an internal bleeder. Can't see your pain, but it can silently kill ya. Suicidal, depressed, but you won't say a thing. Too afraid of what the people may say or think. You feel alone even though the people surround you. Popping pills every night even though you know they can't solve it. The emotional pain, it just seems way too heavy. Your mind is racing, wanna scream, somebody help me. Ooh, God sees you, and God hears you. Yes, God loves you. These type of people sit right under our noses. We don't find out till we're on IG scrolling. We post a few memes, but then it keeps on happening. Something's gotta change, we gotta start talking and telling the truth without the fear of judgment. Gotta come together and really start loving and heal these people cause they slowly dying. Help them believe that their life is worth living. Ooh, God sees you, and God hears you. Yes, God loves you. I pray there's an end to this suicide demon. We losing people too soon, they cutting and bleeding. They think no one cares, so I wrote this song to tell you, my God, He cares and He can heal you. He sees you when you're crying yourself to sleep, wondering if anybody hears me. You tell yourself you can't go on no more, but your life is worth fighting for. Don't leave this world too soon. There's so many people who really love you. Jesus is calling for you. He knows and He can heal you. I know you're hurting deep down inside.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to another episode of the Now We're Talking radio show with your hosts, Mervin A. Bourne Jr. and Lolita E. Walker.
Hi.
We are back another Thursday, but we are here every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
Tonight we have two very special guests in the house with us this evening. From Unlimited Bounds Human Services, we have the CEO and the COO.
Yes. Yay. Thank you guys for joining us. We're so excited to have you.
Yes, glad to be here. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves to our audience, please?
All right, I'm Markis Johnson, the CEO of Unlimited Bounds Human Services. Unlimited Bounds was founded as a child care agency, eventually evolved to an adult and child care agency. And this is...
Hi, I'm Brandi Johnson. I am the COO of Unlimited Bounds Human Services.
All right.
Well, before you guys keep going, we know we have some new guests who have joined, and so we just want to reintroduce them to what we're talking about tonight and why they should be so excited and to share. So share. All month long, we have been talking about mental health. We have been talking about mental health as related to adults, as related to children. We've been talking about therapy. We've been talking about coping, signs, and creating these sacred spaces to just allow people to talk. And one of the things that we thought to do that's really cool is really introduce behavioral health and understanding differences. So that's what we're talking about tonight for all you guys who have joined. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit about your company.
All right. Well, we are a behavioral health provider.
Yes.
And behavioral health covers mental health. Mm-hmm. Mental health is inclusive of part of behavioral health. You have other things as part of behavioral health, such as mainly substance abuse treatment.
Okay.
And now the more agencies and, with Obamacare that came down the pipeline, the emphasis has been on behavioral health because treating mental health alone, a lot of times these disorders are co-occurring, like substance abuse and mental health. And for years, even if you look at the agencies that's licensed and providing services, in the state, most of these outpatient agencies, anyway, community-based agencies, are licensed or providing one or the other.
Oh, gotcha.
And they're getting consumers that usually have co-occurring disorders.
Yep, makes sense.
And when that happens, you work on one piece and you don't work on the other piece, or, it usually falters. And me personally, I believe that's why the relapse rate is so high. Because, you're treating, this side of it and this side's not getting treatment, it's usually generally not going to be as effective as attacking both parts of it. Having an all-encompassing pieces of having a medical director on site right there that can prescribe medication to help keep psychiatric issues under control. And, because those things can, a lot of times consumers, the people, the clients, they go out here and they self-medicate through their, addiction. That's why they're addicted, because they're self-medicating, usually underlying illness. And that hasn't been addressed. It's always been separate, but thanks to the provisions made by the Affordable Care Act, now it's, pretty much mandated that, hey, systems, and it's going to take a while for everyone to catch up. Systems have to catch up with this newfound research that most of the times it's a mental illness up under that substance abuse illness. That they go hand in hand.
So where are you based out of?
Right here, 1 North Charles Street, 4th floor.
Look at that. Okay, that's awesome.
Right here. So we've had a lot of success with working with the consumers in Baltimore City. We find that their mental health needs have been severely undertreated. And again, it goes back to how things were set up before.
Right.
Now I think more so now because the substance abuse issue is beyond particular communities.
Absolutely. What's it? Yep.
Now it's a crisis.
Now it's a crisis.
Yeah.
So before we get into exactly what you guys provide on a daily basis in your business, tell us about how you even, why did your passion, why this company?
It's so funny. Me and Mervin, we were teammates at Morgan State University.
Hey, Morgan State.
That's right.
Morgan State.
I had the opportunity to play arena football in Montana when I left Morgan State. And, you don't get paid the NFL dollars someone makes. So in the off-season, you're working a job. And in my off-seasons, I worked at Brecken Flat Psychiatric Unit in Billings, Montana. And I learned some things out there, being in that environment. And I said, man, this will really go over well back home, back in Baltimore. So I said, I came home once I got done playing a few years out there and working out there. I came home and said, I want to do something to bring this here.
I love it.
I think this can be very effective to how we interact with one another. People look at the violence, the murder rate here in Baltimore, and it is a problem, but I believe it's a medical problem. I believe that a lot of people are not receiving the mental health care that they need at a very early age and are developing bad coping mechanisms to be able to deal with the things that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And this has been going on for a very long time. It runs very deep. But if we can remember back, I want to say maybe 30-something years ago, maybe 30 years ago, Mayor Smoke back then had been said that the drug issue is a medical issue.
Yes.
He said that 30 years ago. Now it takes, a while for people to catch up.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like somebody says it, you looked at like the village idiot, and then like 30 years you come back like, okay. And what we're trying to do by providing our services is, me and our COO, we know that, this is the issue. And we don't, even if we stand out as the village idiots as far as that, we'll save some lives.
Absolutely.
We'll change some lives.
And that's the goal, right?
Yes.
That's the goal, right?
That's the ultimate goal. And let people live their full lives. Like, without having your behavioral health issues under wraps, it's hard to be a proper parent. It's hard to be a proper friend. It's hard to be anything other than dealing with those issues. And these are medical issues and need to be treated just like if you had the flu, if you had a broken leg, or anything else.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because in other shows we've also talked about how we go to the doctor for the flu. We go to the doctor if we hurt our knee. We go to the doctor for physical health issues. But when do we go to the doctor for mental health or substance abuse? Or, hey, I'm getting addicted to this and I'm noticing that there's a different type of behavior.
Yes.
When do we do that? So kudos on starting this.
To piggyback off of that, typically in the Black community, I can't speak for other communities, but the solution for those issues, people have had mental health issues since the beginning of time. But typically what we know is, go pray about it. You know, people will shift the responsibility off of you to your higher power, which is absolutely a good help. But you know, a lot of us, we don't know what to do with somebody who does say, I'm struggling through something. You know, it has been introduced and pervasively spread through our culture to you carry your burden and you make it through anyway. So
we don't talk about it.
Exactly. You know, you people say it openly all the time. I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't know what that a lot encompasses.
Exactly.
And how you even were able to get to, people say, by the grace of God. Yeah. And absolutely by the grace of God. But some things could have been a little easier for you if you knew where exactly to go to. And so that's what we're trying to provide, that space for people to come get those issues addressed. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's, you know, you're definitely not alone. Everybody goes through it. It's a part of life. But it doesn't have to be taken to the extreme for it to be something that you can handle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're coming up to our break soon, but we can start now. But I think one of the questions we had talked about is, talk to us about some signs that we see in children to say, we might need to consider getting them help.
Well, you know, like they're acting out in school, of course, you know, alienation from friends, withdrawal from their peers, outbursts, consistent outbursts. Like those are, you know, normally the general signs or whatever, you know, violent behavior. Children come into this world usually with, let me phrase this. Some behavioral health issues can be genetic, but that's a very small percentage. Very small percentage. Few and far between. We're talking less than 10% truly. 90% of the time, children are what's the word?
They're environmental.
Yes.
They're environmental.
Products of their environment.
They're copying what they're seeing.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. Somebody has shown them this. And oftentimes, I think it's very important that we watch what, you know, we need to be on top of what children are picking up and but what's more important is we need to be cognizant of what we are exposing them to.
Yes.
Because oftentimes, in our own convenience, we won't watch what we're exposing our children to. You know, and then you wonder why this is a problem 10, 15 years later. You know?
Yeah.
I've worked with countless young men from like, you know, one particular young man, you know, he wouldn't get up and go to school on time. He wouldn't get up and go where he's supposed to be, and, you know, breaking boundaries all through the day, pretty much, right? And, you know, but you can't have a party going on in the living room 2 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely.
And then wonder why this child cannot wake up and take care of their education 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
You know, like that's one of the reasons why we moved from just working with youth to working with adults, because it just doesn't make any sense. If the ceiling's leaking, you keep mopping the floor.
Exactly.
The ceiling's gonna keep leaking. Like it's just gonna keep leaking. You gotta stop that leak somewhere.
Yeah.
And we try to handle things from a holistic approach to really get the families to buy into it and even get them in treatment as well too, because usually it's something that's passed on. And with our, you know, I know we're here to serve all communities, but we're a minority-owned business, okay? So, of course, that's our genesis. You know, we are expanding into other markets and things of that nature, but, you know, our folks, everybody struggled here in America, but we've had a particularly different set of struggles.
Very unique struggle.
Unique is a very good word. So we need some unique help.
Yes.
Right. Unique solutions.
So what worked for everybody else throughout, you know, is not quite gonna work for us. We gotta, you know, we need surgery. You know, we need some different things. And a lot of times those things become so ingrained on us that we pass that on to our children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, just unknowingly, we don't know because it's the best way.
Because our parents did that to us.
Right.
You know, that's how they coped, and we did the same thing.
Right. This is what you do.
Yeah.
You know, you upset, eat something. It'll make you feel better. You wonder why diabetes and blood pressure and stuff's all out of control. Obesity is much higher in our communities than it is in other communities. Because these were the coping mechanisms we were taught, instead of maybe speaking up for yourself, expressing your feelings, because culturally that has not been our experience.
So do you all have programs where you work with parents on what coping mechanisms might look like?
Yes.
That's excellent.
Yes, we do. Particularly mental health treatment with a therapist and a psychiatric rehabilitation program.
Okay.
That's normally, what we'll try to, use that to teach them how to cope better with their issues and their situations. It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding when you can literally see it. Sometimes they may not stick it all the way through, but they're better than where they came in at.
Absolutely.
And maybe sometimes, the parent per se can only take it so far. But you know what? They took it far enough. Now maybe that child in this lifetime will build on top of that.
Absolutely.
Like these issues didn't come upon nobody overnight.
Right.
This is generations of dysfunction.
So they can't be solved overnight.
Right. It's gonna take generations to get it right. The Bible says it takes seven generations to cure sin.
Number 7. I have so many questions.
Me too.
Do you want one? You can talk.
Well, so I noticed you mentioned earlier you referred to your folks that you're servicing as consumers. I know that there's an ideology behind that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Because a consumer is more empowering than saying client. So we try to change our language that like you're a consumer and not a client. A client is more so like you belong to me, but consumer is you're purchasing these services. More so makes it, empowering to the individual. Makes it individual centered. You want them to feel, they have to feel in control of their life. Because this behavioral health issue has been in control of their life for so long.
Right.
So the first thing you want to let them do is feel control.
Yeah.
That's the most empowering thing.
I love that. Another question that I have is just around children, education, and labels. Right? You talked about, children in school, and the first thing came to mind is especially for our black youth in school, and it could be for all minorities. I just don't know because I'm African American myself.
Of course.
But I know especially for our young boys, they get labeled so quickly because of all the energy that they have, and it's so quick to say they have ADD, they have a behavioral problem, they shouldn't be in a classroom, they're disruptive, they're disrespectful, and it might just be that they're learning differently. Or they have so much energy that they need to stand up and do exercises versus being at a seat for 8 hours. I haven't even counted, but I'm imagining it's about 8 hours a day. Yeah, so where do you sit with that? Where do you sit with that? And are you seeing, I guess what I'm asking is, are you seeing people that have self-diagnosed to have an issue, but it's really like, you don't have an issue yet. This is normal.
Okay. That's one that's really like, that's really here with me. Here with us.
Me too. Yeah.
That's particularly why the agency was started. We started working with the Department of Juvenile Services initially back in 2007, 2008. And it's that has so many like different ways, but I'm trying to like,
I know it's a big question. I know it is. I have a 7-year-old, so I'm really in. I'm all in.
Bless your heart. Okay. School is pretty much more so after a certain point become a weeding out process, from what I can tell. A weeding out of who's spending time at home with their children and who's not. Who's spending as much time as possible and who's not. It's still a learning process throughout, but it's more so becoming like, okay, they start segregating children about the 3rd grade. Based off your test scores, based off of this. And right then and there, that young boy, his track is made prison, college, or somewhere in the middle. And that's when you look at it, that's really what it encompasses. And when you work with an education system, that pretty much is, that's what it's made for, pretty much at its root. It's kind of hard to fight back against that because they will diagnose your child a lot of times and they really don't need to be diagnosed. A lot of times this young man just has energy. If you look back at 30 years ago, how schools were before they became these large factories, pretty much. Kids went outside for recess, ran off some energy. The food wasn't packaged, so they're not getting all these additives and preservatives and all this other sugars and salts. They're getting more so normalized meals that, don't trigger these behaviors in them. And the learning was much more interactive. It was more so an adult talking to a child, or it was more humanized. And with especially, all men, black, white, whoever, have an ability to, tend to be a little more nomadic in their, I want to say in their learning, in their day-to-day life. Right. So if they're not getting that energy out, they're going to get it out. They're going to get it out.
Some way.
Right.
Yeah.
Two, also, a lot of these young men are overburdened with burdens at home. A lot of times these young men are called to be the men of the house at a much earlier age than what they should be. Yeah. And with that happening, you get your kid time at school. Instead of your kid time at home.
Exactly, which could lead to the acting out.
Yeah.
So Adrian is watching, and she said, that's a loaded question. My question, which had like 10 questions in one.
Yeah.
And so I did let her know that I went a little overboard, but we'll try to break it down a little bit as we continue forward, just to kind of chunk it. I talk to people all the time about managing things in chunks. I did ask a lot because I was just like, oh, and this and this. So I think maybe we'll stick to exactly what you're talking about right now is, like the first thing is looking at your home environment. And are there things that you can do differently at home in order to foster your child's learning and focus at school? There's a fly and I'm yeah.
Okay. The things that I would say at home would be make sure you're spending time with your child. You need to talk to your child 30 minutes every day. If you only can do 15, ask them about their day, not so much seeing what their grades were like for the day or, how they behaved in school, but developing that relationship of, talking to them every day. Whereas though they can feel comfortable telling you what their issues are. And most people aren't doing that nowadays. Everybody's, we'll rather work a second job to buy some Jordans. This, that, and the other.
Or be on the phone or not present.
Right, and then a lot of times we have a lot of single parent households. The war on dads in the black community started 40 years ago. So what they did, like, what the other communities are dealing with, like the opioid issue, it happened in our community 40 years ago. Right. So we've been had the war on dads. So that been happening for us. So it's been a burden on the household to try to make that happen. To try to keep things going properly. And it's so much harder for one person to do 10 things than two people to do 10 things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be together per se, but good co-parenting relationship.
And I think that's important.
Like if your child's not with you, you can pick up the phone every day, 10 minutes. Everybody got 10 minutes in this world. We all get 24 hours in a day, no matter how rich, how poor, how whatever, everybody got 10 minutes. Pick that phone up if you have to and make that call for 10, 15 minutes.
And I think that's a good accountability call out for single parents who are not parents who are not with their children on a regular basis to find 10 minutes out of your day in order to talk to your child. For the single moms and the single dads who are out there who are estranged from their father or their mother, then I think what you said too is spending that quality time with your child no matter how busy you are and asking those questions. I remember when my son was in, I want to say it was kindergarten, his teacher sent home this sheet of like 25 questions, and it was things that you could talk to your children about and how to talk to them. So for instance, if there was a spaceship that left your classroom and was gone for 10 years, who in your classroom would you say should be in that spaceship? And that really then tells you who do they not want to be around.
Right. Or who they do want to be around, right?
Yeah, but they weren't on the spaceship. Only one person could go. So just creating questions like that tell you information, but you're not really asking them. And I still have that sheet till today because it's such a powerful sheet that, it's like, who was the funniest person in the cafeteria today? Like, tell me about that.
Right.
Icebreakers.
Icebreakers with your children to get the information you want and need and to hear those names.
Oftentimes parents, and I think a lot of times out of convenience. When you're a single parent, now you're doing all these things, right? You're not, you're burdened. You're burdened. It's tough on you.
Overburdened, right?
It's overburdened. And now that young person has to, kind of go without some of the things they emotionally need because there's really no time for pleasantries. You know, like, you know, you sit down, you get to know someone, and, you know, this, that, and other. And a lot of times, what we'll do, and then, you know, what we'll do as parents, I'm not a parent yet, but I'm just saying what I see, I'm an adult. I have 2 dogs, so I'm a fur parent. But what we often make the mistake of, fathers and mothers both, is looking at their children as extensions of themselves and not individuals.
Absolutely.
You know? And so we automatically assume that they have these feelings, they have this insight because they're a part of us.
Right.
When in actuality, we need to sit down and rap to them and, you know, talk to them, just get to know them. That's all. Yeah. Like, that's 95% of it.
Yeah, and that's for single parents and the traditional parents,
That's
and for any parent.
That's if your grandparents around, your uncles around, or whatever. I say that because it's so much. It really is harder for us, you know, because you know you got to take care of home, you got to take care.
It's a lot. I'm a single parent,
right?
And it's a lot. But I do value co-parenting because in my relationship, my son's father is a great co-parent. And, you know, comes to town, doesn't live here, but comes to town. And so that co-parenting relationship is strong. And what I can say is for my friends who don't have that relationship with the parent, it is a very, now one, it's still hard, but it's a different type of hard. And to see that is more to appreciate it and be grateful for it, but to also recognize that now you have a village, and I rely so much on my village, and it becomes so powerful. And just leveraging that and recognizing that it's okay to ask for help, and it's not a sign of weakness, right? It's just that, guess what? You are an extension of me. So come on in, because you share my core values, and I think that's important. So I love that later on in our show, we're going to ask you guys to talk about. We love to leave people with tangibles, but like, what are those things that we can do differently? So I love the signs you talked about already. So if you're just joining us, welcome. We talked about behavioral health versus mental health and how that adds in addictions, right? Yes. Abuse, substance abuse and addictions, right? Yes. And we talked about what does it look like when your children show signs that they might need some help, right? We'll recap on that later. And we're going to talk about what does it look like for adults that need some help later, right?
And we also want to get into who you all are as individuals in terms of your backgrounds and how that led to this business that you all started that's now a large, impactful company. Because typically where you come from has everything to do with where you end up, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So, when we're back with Now We're Talking, we're going to continue this amazing conversation. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Exposed Radio.
Well, if you made them, take care of them.
Yeah, that's
period.
Real. You're right. That's the real deal.
It's period.
Right. And all that old money shouldn't go toward this, money should go to, if the child is with one of the parents 24/7, 7 days a week, you don't even come get your child every day. You come get your child once a month maybe, or once every 3 months.
Right.
You cannot dictate where that money goes, especially if the child ain't calling you about nothing. Now, if the child calling you every week, then you can question about where the child support is going. But if every time you pick up the child, they look nice, they ain't complaining about nothing, why are you worrying about where the money go at?
It is what it is. Radio show.
First they love you, then desert you, leave with a plate full with no spoon. Ain't no space, I can't escape negativity. I got used to the taste of been bad, burned and fucked over, but remain strong through the past over. Kicking haters out of the way like masked over. Roll up, sip something, let it pass over. Who would I be? It ain't the man to me that let the next man take advantage of me. When that storm come, no pan I see. Get with it, not without it, then you'll see. I beat the haters, they know I'm greater. That's why they buzzing for the elevator, but I can't save it. It'll be too loud on the pedal stool. Don't carry favors. Always got your hand out demanding favors. When I just looked out, now you Give me more paper, I can't breathe. Give me 3 feet. I never let y'all be the death of me. When my patience
Take a minute and listen to this flashback of the Black by Demand radio show.
Control. They said she wouldn't, so they didn't know if she had a weapon. So it's just a mess. So yeah, you do have to have these discussions with your children.
You do, and you have to make them aware of that there is an enemy out there. Every time the police pull you over, or every time you have an interaction with the police as a black person, you are at risk of being in front of your enemy. Hopefully, it's not a police officer that wants to demonstrate that he's your enemy, but we all see it's a high probability of that being the case. So if we're not talking to our children do not have.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hey, we're back on air, and we are talking because that statement before, and I was like, hold up, I don't know if I agree with that. Let's talk about where you are. Well, they don't know yet, so we're going to bring them up, and then we'll talk about it. No, we're not cutting it off. So welcome back. We are here, and if you're just joining us, we're having an awesome discussion about behavioral health and what that looks like. We talked about children, we're going to be talking about adults, but we're here with Markis Johnson and Brandi Johnson, who are CEO and COO of Unlimited Bounds Human Services, where they provide these behavioral health services in Baltimore City, right down the street on Charles Street, and we're just so excited to have them. But we'd love to have your input. So when you hear this quote, what do you think about? And do you believe it? Where you come from has everything to do with where you end up. Where you come from has everything to do with where you end up. And the challenge I had with it, because everybody believes it, and I was like, I don't know yet. I mean, I might can get there, but because they haven't heard, I guess, my perspective yet. And I'm fine that's what we're talking about. But where my brain initially went is environmental. So where you come from in that environment dictates where you're going to end up. And I don't agree with that. I think that there's evolution. I think there's change. I think depending on the village that you're around, I think it's based on the experience you have in school. It might be a teacher, it might be something, but where you come from doesn't necessarily denote where you're going. So that's what we were talking about when we came back. So please.
Okay. Now, what is the where, though? That's what we need to answer. What is the where that we're defining? Is it because you're from a poor neighborhood, impoverished neighborhood, or you're from a rich neighborhood or whatever? What is the where? In other words, what we're saying is if you come from love, that's where you'll find
love.
Yourself. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that then.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can eat beans every night, and you got somebody in your environment. It don't have to be your parent. It could be an uncle.
Yes.
It could be a grandparent. It could be an aunt. It could be somebody that shows you that you're valuable.
Yes.
And you're going to take that self-value, and that's going to take you to somewhere as though you have self-value.
That's what I'm talking about. That's where we are.
Right.
I thought physical location.
No, that stuff don't matter.
When I first heard that, that's where my brain went.
I have consumers. Consumers in my agency, right? And you'll be amazed who their parents are. You would think that, you had every opportunity in the world. You had every leg up. But like what you're missing is, where were those conversations?
Yes.
Where was that time spent? Just because you sent them to boarding school in England or whatever, and this, that, and the other, and bought them all these nice things, but you don't even know this person.
Where were you?
And this child is looking for validation with your time.
Yeah.
You cannot cheat the time that you have to give to someone.
Absolutely.
So that's where I push back on you, because still everything you just said, that too is a where you come from. So you might where you come from might be a home with two parents who make tons of money, who afford you all the resources you could possibly want, but devoid of attention and love. And that void of attention and love have a drastic effect on your personality, the type of person you are, how you treat other people. So that's still, even though it's a different where you come from, that's still where that person comes from. And so whether you're talking about someone growing up in poverty and 20 years later they're a millionaire, them being a millionaire is still directly connected to that poverty, because that poverty could have been motivation, it could have been fuel. Typically, people run away from what they don't want anymore. And if you speak to anyone who's now wealthy that used to be poor, 9 out of 10 of them are going to say, I was fueled by that poverty because I never wanted to go back there. So when I made the statement, that was essentially what I was saying is thinking broader, not literally where you come. Sometimes I think the literal is a part of it, but it's not the only part of it. It's a lot of components, like going back to what you said, like, did you have love in your home? You know, what mental state were you starting from? And what mental state did you evolve out of?
Right.
But that, I think.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right? I hear what you're saying. Like the individuals are looking at these external factors in their life. Like, I'm poor, I'm impoverished, and oftentimes that'll drive them to be, you know, to where they are. Right? Let's just say, let's just say with, you know, like we see celebrity families all the time, right? And again, where you are is not dictated by, you know, what's important.
I agree.
By your financial, your financial status.
Right.
We see celebrities in and out of deep rehabs all the time who are getting beaten by their parents into celebrity, into fame, and into, you know, what good did that do when they OD'd at 50 years old?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? What good did that do when they, you know, all out here in the tabloids and X, Y, and Z? They didn't live a happy life, you know, because their genesis was so, you know, emotionally impoverished from the time they were, you know, came into this world. You know, it's been, they were made to fulfill the needs of the parent instead of the parent fulfilling the needs of them. You know, and eventually, like, we all only got so much substance with us, and we all go bankrupt at some point. And that bankruptcy usually happens later on, you know, at some point in life. Now, financial success can happen. You know, you could be in the right place at the right time. You can go out and give $1 to the, you know, corner man and buy a lottery ticket and be a millionaire. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, sometimes it's not that lucky. It requires a little bit of work. But, you know, becoming successful, I mean, people who do have those emotional, have their emotional grounding from home, they tend to be a lot more successful at a lot higher rates. You know?
And happier.
Right, and happier on top of that. But it's always going to be an exception to the rule. If we go up to the 15th floor of this building and 1,000 people jump off, 2 going to survive. You know, that's just the numbers game. So you're going to always hear these stories about, oh, well, this person came through the absolute harshest of this, didn't have this, that, and the other, and they made it over to the other side. What about that other 998?
And I think a lot of times what we look to as success, how you mentioned the where you go, we look at success, oh, the big nice mansion and the hottest zip code, the fancy cars, the designer clothes, so on and so forth, as true success. But like Markis was saying, a lot of people are walking around dressed to the nines, but emotionally bankrupt, or miserable, drinking themselves to death. You know, the opioid crisis is at an all-time high because there are so many emotionally bankrupt people. But their parents, like you said, we have consumers whose parents are who's who of Baltimore, Maryland, so on and so forth. And it's like, how did you get here? You know? So I think a lot of the times with society impresses upon us as success, we just look at the external factors. And like how you mentioned, you know, that focus, that drive, even those things have to come from a place of safety and knowing and being secure within yourself, not just intellectually, but emotionally. That is really, truly the foundation of everything in your life. You can lose that success. You know, like I said, some of it is luck. You might, you know, put the right money into the right stock at the right time.
Some people it's given to them.
Inherited, you know, so on and so forth. But if you're not grounded emotionally in something, then all that can be lost, you know? And then you've got people who come from meager means or live a simpler life, and yet they are the most fulfilled people, and everybody's like, how are you so happy? You know?
And you're like, why not? Why wouldn't you?
And they're like, when you leave, you know? So, you know, I think a lot of that definitely plays into the, you know, factors of, you know, like you said, where you come from. And I think really, like you were saying, you know, that love and that understanding, being known by somebody else, truly for who you are and not what you have, is really what dictates that trajectory and whether you're going to stay on that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when we're back, we are absolutely going to delve into a little bit more because now the conversation is getting awesome, right? Excuse me. So when we're back, well, now we're talking.
Far into this unknown to find who we really are. Crash into something new and take a break from our broken heart. Talk with the hip, tell me you lie. I think we should go for another round. Baby, try not to say too much. Let your love come down. If you wanna rule, there's some rules you gotta live by. Live by. Stay true to your cool, make a move, don't wait on nobody else. And if it feels like a melody, sing a song, be my radio. And if you follow me there, I'll follow you back. Let the night unfold. I can tell that she can't get enough, show enough, she couldn't get the feels off from me. Oh no, she couldn't get the feels off from me. Touching hands till we dance in the dark, show enough, she couldn't get the feels off from me. We do whatever you like, get the feels off from me. Oh no, she couldn't get the feels off from me. So let's slide, you and me alone, to find who we really are. Crash into something new. I got that leg bringing up the car. Told me you kiss, told me you lie. I think we should go for another round. Baby, I wanna take you, but we gotta groove so we can lose the crowd. If you wanna rule, there's some rules you gotta live by. Live by. Stay true to your cool, make a move, don't wait on nobody else. And if it feels like a melody, sing a song, be my radio. And if you follow me there, I'll follow you back. Let the night unfold. I can tell that she can't get enough, show enough, she couldn't get the feels off from me. Oh no, she couldn't get the feels off from me. Touching hands till we dance in the dark, show enough, she couldn't get the feels off from me. We do whatever you like, get the feels off from me. Oh no, she couldn't get the feels off from me.
Baby, don't be shy. Just talk with your hips, let your backbone slide. Put your lips on mine. What you need, just take control like you need it.
And if it feels like a melody, sing a song, you can be my radio. If you follow me there, I'll follow you back. Let the night unfold.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to Now We're Talking. We are live. It is Thursday night, and you're here with your hosts, Lolita E. Walker and Mervin A. Bourne Jr.
Hello, hello, happy Thursday. We are in the midst of some great discussions around behavioral health. And so we have CEO and COO here of Unlimited Bounds Human Services, and I'm so excited to have you guys. We have Markis and we have Brandi, and you guys are just such the power duo, and what you are doing in Baltimore City is just honestly amazing, especially, you know, with the behavioral services and the fact that you recognize that we need more than mental services, because there are mental services happening out there, but just the combination of really incorporating a substance, right? Because people are coping, especially in our community, and when you can tap into everything, I think that's just so powerful in what you guys are doing. So thank you so much. So we've had a couple of discussions back and forth, which is always great. We're excited about taking things from a man and a woman's perspective, but also just from a differences of perspective, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we like to recap. You want to do a recap on where we've been so far this show?
Oh, wow. So we talked about looking at your clients as consumers, and the thought process behind that being to empower them and convey the message that they're in control of their lives and control of their care, which I think is an awesome concept. Before we broke, we were talking about the idea that where you come from is directly connected to where you end up in life, and we had some healthy debate around that.
Or discussion.
That
I didn't really agree with the statement, but you have to bring. I agree with where our perspectives started off at a different place.
Yes.
It sounded like, and so now that you explain where your thought is, and I'm like, oh, I absolutely agree with that. I agree with love, like the notion of love really setting you up. From no matter where you've come from physically. And my mind automatically went, when the quote was, where you come from has everything to do with where you end up. And in my brain, I immediately thought of physical. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute now. We can shape that. We can shape that. And so that's what you were
I guess
going
because
to.
we work in mental health.
Yes.
Mostly, like, we look at things from a mental health perspective.
I love it.
You know, if you're not being taught discipline,
Yep.
you know, if you're not being taught how to emotionally regulate.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So if you're in a place where you're not being taught how to emotionally regulate,
Oh,
society's going to emotionally do that job for you.
Especially if you're a man.
Right, especially if you are a man.
Right.
You will find somewhere that they will emotionally regulate you.
Oh, they don't have to find it. They already have the place for you.
With more than enough bids.
Building more of them.
Every day.
Every day.
So that's where, you know, like, that's where it's all about, because that's the stuff that's going to take you somewhere. You know, you may come from extreme impoverished conditions. You know, you may come from even an abusive background, you know, but if someone's there, even around that background, and you choose to say, hey, I want to listen and follow that person, rather than, you know, choosing, you know, how this person reacts to things and how they emotionally regulate, that will take that child so much further than putting $1 million in their bank account and, you know, this, that, and other, you know? And that's often very overlooked within, I believe, our community per se. We oftentimes, you know, we get caught up on a lot of the superfluous things that really don't matter that much, when, you know, conversation, going outside playing ball for 20 minutes, or just doing something here and there. Like, kids don't come into this world knowing what Nikes are and knowing what PlayStation 4 is and this, that, and that. But they do come in the world knowing who you are.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So how do you validate them? Right. You know, how do you validate their feelings, their experiences, their opinions, who they are? You know?
The things that really matter. It's always interesting to me. A lot of times you don't understand what really matters until you have all the things that you think that you want, or that you thought you wanted.
Yeah.
Right. Or until the things that you really need are taken away from you, and then you realize, oh, those are the things that are really needed.
Yeah, those are the things that I really, really need.
Right.
And when you sit down and, you know, you talk, like we sit down, we look over these files, we have to do our Q&A checks to see the clinical information of all these consumers, and you start seeing, well, why are some of these people here? And it's literally consistent all across the board.
Yes.
From client 100 to client 1 to client 200. It's consistent. A lack of emotional support from the primary caregiver.
I believe
like every last one of them.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way around it. And oftentimes, a lot of people get upset and they say, oh, well, it can be, you know, a multitude of things and this, that, and the other. And it can be, but ultimately, as an individual, you are responsible for the environment. Like, you may per se be a loving parent to your child, but a loving in a certain way, whereas though you're not protecting them from their environment. You're letting their, you know, drug dealing uncle come over all the time, you know, expose them to certain things, or, you know, oftentimes what people do is they don't become, you know, a mother or a father more so than a brother or a sister, or a son and a daughter. And then, you know, as you're doing all these things to try to provide a better life for your child, all that counter work is being done by people in their extended family.
Influences.
Yes. And then you look up 15 years later and you wonder, like, why is this like this? I did X, Y, and Z, but you allowed these other things into the environment.
Tell me if this is a scenario that you guys have ever run into. I'm imagining it is, but you have a child who you're working with, and through the work that you're doing with this child, they divulge that there's a substance abuse issue with their parent. And you go to talk to their parent, right? I imagine, right? You go to talk to their parent, and they might be in denial.
That's like on a scale of 1 to 10, like that's a 1.
Really?
Yeah, we call that Tuesday. You know?
Okay.
And then, yeah, like you say, the child says, well, I'm having these issues because this is what's happening in my home. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a given. We do that, mm-hmm. but, you know, it's good to get that firsthand from the child. Mm-hmm. Then the real issue comes into play, said parent or parents or the people in the environment, mm-hmm. because what happens a lot of the time is that we get a lot of children from the Department of Juvenile Services. Mm-hmm. So they're already engaged in a form of the system, right? And so, believe it or not, a lot of the parents are not engaged. Mm-hmm. They want Department of Juvenile Services to do their job.
Because they don't know what to do.
No, it's not that they don't know what to do. No.
Or they're not willing to.
There we go. It's not a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of desire. Children, and like we mentioned earlier, you know, the issues with children in school and whatnot. A lot of people want the school system to raise their children. Yeah. You know, okay, the child gets put into DJS for whatever reason. It could be really frivolous, and they build a track record and whatnot. They expect these systems that have been put into place to actually do the job of parenting and raising their children. It is difficult for us a lot of the times to get cooperation from the parent for us to do our job to help correct or fix, you know, whatever's going on with the child, but you won't come sign the paperwork. What do you mean? So what am I supposed to do? Oh, it's your problem, or call the caseworker or whatnot. So there you have a very clear picture of how this young person got involved in the system through no fault of their own, because the primary person in their life that is supposed to give them that love, that nurturing, that caring, it's not my problem.
So can I ask you a question about everything you just said?
Yes.
So the parent who hypothetically, let's say they're young, and I'm going to paint a scenario for you. Okay. You have a young mother, maybe mother and father in the same house. They have a child who maybe they're only 15 years older than their child, 15 to 20 years older, which is unfortunately common.
Yes.
They were not nurtured. They were not loved the way they should have been loved. They did not have examples of care and patience and kindness and discipline and all those things that we associate with good parenting, right? They are now 30 with a 15-year-old. Do they have the capacity, the knowledge, the wherewithal to be good parents in the way that you've described, in a way that would tell them that everything you just said is not what to do?
This is what we're getting across.
And we're always speaking in general, right? Because there's no absolutes ever, obviously.
Never no absolutes. Right. But this is the absolute truth right here, brother. There's 1,000 services out here like ours that can help you with all the help that individual with all those things.
Right.
So where there's a will, there's a way. In this environment, in this time and space right now, we're not talking about, you know, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, but right now, there's a community mental health program within every zip code. I know at least in the state of Maryland. And an individual can access those services and just receive a lot of that stuff that they missed out in their own childhood. You know, because that's usually what you normally get in a lot of behavioral health services, is you're getting things that you were deficient on when you were growing up. So we see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes individuals they don't have the will to change. It ain't that big of a deal to them to say, you know what, I'm gonna change myself, or I'm gonna be open to changing myself and taking some coaching to help my child out. It's about what's important to them. Right. You know, I mean, sad to say, that's what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, it's about what's important. It don't matter where you at. You could be the worst parent in the world, but if you have a willingness to say, hey, this is all I knew, but I'm down for learning something new.
or I want better for my children.
I want better for my child. Can you? Yes, we will show you, teach you the ropes. I mean, we got plenty of parenting coaches and mental health therapists, caseworkers, and everything. Because, truthfully, I mean, speaking from a systemic point of view, it's a lot cheaper on the taxpayer and on the government as a whole to say, hey, we can do something preventative rather than having to pay for this individual on the back end. And it works out better for the families, of course. So literally, it's up to the individual.
So let's keep going with that as soon as we come back from this next break.
All right.
We'll be right back. Stick with us. Now we're talking.
It's like
Back in 2 minutes.
One little fly
I
is
wanna
like,
get it.
This is a Poverty ENT exclusive. Next stop, Texaco, strapped up, you already know. Fuck niggas hate, that's how it goes. Bros with me, yeah.
Listen to this flashback of Skyline Radio Show.
So where we at? Where we talk about the effects and what's going on in these schools, and what people don't understand. Just real briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about what people say bullying is or is not. So bullying comes in many forms. It's a teasing, it's the cyberbullying, it's the texting, it's the phone calls, it's the posting of pictures and people's personal information to pretty much cause them harm, to have them feel insecure. It's the sex assaults that people actually put out there. There are physical assaults, and there are mental assaults and emotional assaults. And what I like to remind individuals that any aggressive behavior towards anyone that is unwanted and unwarranted, and an individual asks you to stop. Let's stop there. Stop.
And they should be respecting that.
Respecting that and respecting yourself, because when you're able to respect another person, you're able to respect yourself. And the way that you're able to show that respect is that you know that you have a gift and you know you're uniquely made and that you matter, and then you also acknowledge that the next person beside you matters as well.
Right.
You know? And we lose that sometimes.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back. You're watching Now We're Talking. The Now We're Talking radio shows on BeExposedRadio.com.
Hey.
We are here tonight with two amazing guests, the CEO and the COO of Unlimited Bounds Behavioral
Human service.
Behavioral
You
Balance
better
Human
look down,
Services.
because that's why I look down. I don't want to mess up anything.
We've
It's such a good-
we've been having a great conversation, and let's just get right back into
Yeah.
it because we got a lot more we want to talk about.
And so if you're just joining us, we've been having, like Mervin said, a powerful conversation with Markis and with Brandi, and they are a dynamic duo pair. They're coming up on an anniversary, a wedding anniversary, so congratulations.
Thank
pretty
you.
soon. And what you're doing in the community is so amazing, so thank you.
Thank you.
You, Brandi, mentioned something that I thought was just amazing, being emotionally bankrupt.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if everybody knows. I know you guys have been talking about mental health for the past couple of weeks. I'm not sure if this has come up, but one of the broader conversations people have been having is about emotional intelligence. You know, most people when they think intelligence, they think your IQ, your ability to, read, write, converse on an academic level. But in the mental health sphere, there is something known as emotional intelligence, and that is just as important as your, intelligence quotient, your IQ per se, and how you interact with other people. And so, the emotionally bankrupt would speak to someone who has very low or no emotional intelligence.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
emotional intelligence speaks to your ability to not only relate with others, but relate to yourself. We all recognize we have emotions. Everybody feels happy, sad, joy, anger, hurt, pain. Every human being experiences those emotions. However, how you channel those emotions, how you communicate those emotions, everybody has a different level of being able to properly regulate those. We discussed emotional regulation. And so when I mentioned being emotionally bankrupt, I am speaking on someone who has little to no emotional intelligence. So therefore they don't know themselves and how to communicate or control their emotions, let alone be able, and you know, we've been speaking about parents and children, be able to impart that wisdom onto their children because they don't have that for themselves. They're emotionally bankrupt. So I can't connect with you. I can't share with you. I can't, you know, teach you what I don't have. You know, you heard this, you don't know what you don't know. And it's no one's fault of being emotionally bankrupt, but where the difference comes in is recognizing that you have those issues, those blind spots, and seeking, you know, ways to improve upon that. Like how you asked about the parent, what do they do? Markis said, when there's a will to learn something, nothing is going to stop you from learning, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much where that emotionally bankrupt comment stems from.
I love that. I think that that's so powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I'm always curious about what some of the misnomers and misconceptions are around people's industries and people's businesses. I know one of the things that we've talked about a lot over the past couple months in terms of mental health are the stigma that can be attached to mental health and I'm sure behavioral health as well. And I'd love to know what you all think about that. What are some of the stigmas or the misnomers that you'd like to dispel about behavioral health for folks that are watching?
Most people who feel as though, you know, people hear behavioral health, people that don't know for real, think that they look at it like it's an intellectual thing too. You know, like that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, something I can't think properly or something like that. Like a lot of
you think I'm dumb or you think I'm stupid?
Yeah, you know, I'm intellectually challenged or whatever, right? And the sad thing is, it's really the opposite because ignorance is bliss. So if you're aware of everything that's going on around you, you're going to be a little angered. You're going to be perturbed. You know, you're going to be anxious because you're aware. Look at it like this. This is what I try to tell a lot of people or whatever. Like your brain is a car, right? Now, if you drive a regular car, then you can pretty much let's say a Honda Civic. Anybody can change oil in a Honda Civic, right? You can take that to a jackleg mechanic, and they can, you take it to your brother, your uncle, like a friend. You know, change his oil right here for me. But now, if you've got a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes or one of them top of the line cars, when something's wrong with that car, it needs to go to the dealership. It needs to go to somebody who knows how to fix that. And the reason why you're usually, you're troubled or whatever, you're having issues, is because your brain is more complex than the average person. You need to go somewhere and get that under control. Let some real mechanics work on that so we can get you to being, up to optimum performance.
I love that analogy. I know, right?
So to the person that says,
it's good.
There's nothing wrong with me. Why are you trying to make me think there's something wrong with me? People are always trying to tell me there's something wrong.
We're trying to teach you to manage your gift.
Yes.
Say more about that.
Yes.
Well, because even myself, right? I'll share this with you. I've had a diagnosis. I have had ADD. I have ADD, and learning how to manage that has helped me become a very good businessman. I could think about a number of things at one time, but I got it under control though. It's just not like it's not running me, I'm running it. So I could sit down and, I would joke with guys, we might get in roasting sessions in the locker room back in the day or whatever, and I can go at 5 or 10 guys at the same time. I can handle more than one task at a time. I realize when this is becoming overburdening, okay, I put that to the side a little while, then I move on to this and move on to that, this, that, and the other. And I found ways to manage that, and it's actually a gift.
It is.
Most people's best ideas come out of a moment of depression. Now, when that depression starts bearing down on you so hard that you need some help, you need a spark. That's when you need to see somebody. Then something will rise up out of that. You ever watch these movies and stuff like, what is it? The Pursuit of Happiness. And this, that, and other. You see these characters.
One of my favorite
like in their very lowest moments, they come up with something brilliant. That's what depression can be turned into, if managed properly. So we try to, a lot. Don't get me wrong. A lot of our consumers, they walk out our agencies, they manage stuff. They go out here, they really become. Everybody's somebody. They become somebody. You see them come out of other agencies too. A lot of the other good agencies out here too. And but it's like, you know, you got these gifts. It's nothing wrong with you. Right. You just need to come here and manage how to do this. You look at your average drug addict in Baltimore City. This individual generates $300 a day somehow.
Sounds like brilliance to me.
Right.
Yeah, most people with PhDs ain't
With
generate
little to no resources, right?
Right, with little to no resources. So let us teach you how to manage, you know, what you got going over here and not self-medicating it. Use it to your advantage. And then even connect you to some resources and watch you fly.
Absolutely. Something you said was really managing your gift, and that kind of sat with me because especially with our young people, so I'm going to go back to our youth, especially with our young people who are labeled early on in school because they have a lot of energy or they might learn differently. And I know you were diagnosed with ADD, but some of our young people are diagnosed so early. Before, if you ask me, at a time when it's kind of tough to see if it's ADD or just extra energy that we need to manage differently. So I'm wondering if you have any programs where you're working with teachers or the school system or even children. So let me ask, okay, so that's a lot in one. Let me ask two different questions. One, do you have anything where you're working with teachers and administrators on what to see? So maybe that's no, so maybe that's an opportunity. And then the other one is there any way for you to do a program with young people because you already have it, but to partner in the school system, because I firmly believe that there are ways that our children in our public schools and charter schools, wherever, in our schools can learn differently if the teachers were equipped with different ways to still get the curriculum out, because that's what they're really teaching to, is I have this curriculum that I got to get out because I'm being measured on it, they're being measured on it. How do I still get that out? But how do I let Tommy, who for some reason needs to stand up at the board and do his work, or else he's going to be disruptive, still do that work and learn at the same time?
And we are going to tackle that as soon
It's
as we get back from this next break.
Right.
Stay with us. Now we're talking. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
I'll break it down some more.
You are asking me a very
Like the one thing you always gotta remember is people gonna try to project their insecurities onto you. But you can't listen to what them niggas saying. You gotta get out here and do your shit regardless. You gonna do what you love for the rest of your life anyway. So why not turn that shit into something? Be a man of everything you say. This shit bigger than me, man. Like, yeah, I'm good and all that, but you know what I mean? I ain't shit without y'all. So no matter what you up,
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to Now We're Talking with Mervin A. Bourne Jr. and Lolita E. Walker. Our show is on the air every Thursday from 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern. And we're back. We're going to get right back into the discussion with our guest from Unlimited Bounds. I'm going to get it right eventually. From Unlimited
Bounds. But he's going to get it right in his head. I love it.
Right.
Unlimited Bounds Human Services.
Yes.
Yes. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about, particularly because I have a 7-year-old son, is, you know, taking a look at our education system. And I know it gets a little tricky, but one of the things that I've noticed in school is that when your children go to school, there's a curriculum, there's a schedule, there is a compliance, this is what you have to do in these 8 hours, and you got to fit in where you get in because we're tested on this, you know. And so the goal of what it seems, any school, it's not just, you know, where I live, or any school is measured to, is how do our students do based on a curriculum that we have to teach our kids. So no matter if the administrators agree with it or the teachers agree with it, you find yourself inside of the system to teach our kids. And so sometimes I'm challenged because I oftentimes think, are we teaching our children compliance and how to fall in line versus how to individually think and be? And I think that some of those are in things like Montessori schools, etc. So I don't want you to answer that because it's easy to go down that rabbit hole. It's more so, are there programs, how do we get our children who might not be from the juvenile system but might need some type of behavioral intervention with you, how do we get them into programs such as this?
Okay, they can come and join with their parent anytime, their caretaker, you know, someone that has this, say, what would be considered a light diagnosis of ADHD, right?
Oh, okay.
Oftentimes, that's just a thing of, oftentimes it can be just handled with learning how to, you know, schedule yourself, learning how to emotionally regulate as far as putting down anxious thoughts or whatever. It may just be anything that, you know, makes the child, and silly stuff will make a child anxious. Like the smallest things that we take, for granted as adults, the children will make the child anxious. And it'll externalize through ADHD, the constant rapid movement, you know, getting into a little bit of this, getting a little bit of that, getting a little bit of this. So the best thing normally is to, one, if possible, get to the bottom of, you know, what that anxiety causing thing is. Two, teach them how to manage those symptoms that come out. And we do all those things. Agencies like ours, behavioral health agencies that serve children, they do all those things, teaching them techniques on how to, you know, stay on task. Maybe, you know, teach them something like, you know, hey, read this for 5 minutes, take a 1-minute break, go back to reading instead of trying to read for the whole 20 minutes. You know, you break it down. Like, I know those are things I do. You know, like, you know, just do this for 5 minutes, take a break, 30 seconds, 5 more minutes, take a break, 5 more minutes, so on and so on. And it's not, you know, it's not so much, you know, like, again, there's not so much something wrong with having these diagnoses per se. It's really about, you know, managing them.
Managing your gift. I love that. Yeah.
You know, because it's managing a gift. Because I can promise you that young person with ADHD is more creative. That's why conformity does not fit him or her. And I think a big part of that is also culturally, you know, as people of color, you know, we are creative individuals. I mean, you know, we created 90% of this stuff out here. Then, you know, like, then it's taken to the patent office by somebody else. You know the old saying, you know? And I mean, that's culturally who we are. And so that doesn't fit in with conformity, being your own individual. And oftentimes I think, you know, a lot of times therapists, you know, psychiatrists, they make these diagnoses and they are correct normally. Just that it's not as, oftentimes we take it as, oh, like, you know what I mean, oh, it's this bad thing. No, actually,
we attach a stigma to it.
We attach a stigma.
There doesn't have to be a stigma attached to it.
When actually, you know, you got somebody whose chances are, you know, if anybody tell you true stories, your child has a better chance of being a CEO or a large business owner than the child that's conforming, because they're conforming.
I mean,
but the public school system is not here to teach your child how to be a CEO or owner. they teaching them to be workers for society.
And they might not, along those same
And
lines.
nothing's wrong with that.
Right.
That's just,
right.
What it is.
Most schools also are not equipped. And
They're not.
Are not set
Absolutely.
up to deal with every specific child's individual best way of learning.
Right. Yes.
You got to remember, we're trying to educate everybody here.
The masses.
Right. We're not educating just a specific group. Like that's what.
It's like
that's what folks. Right.
Exactly.
That's what folks a lot of times, you know, they bear down and we criticize and beat up on our teachers and stuff. But this teacher is trying to take her oneself and spread it through 30 kids who half of them have not had the emotional education between 0 and 5 before they start school.
Right.
Yes.
So she normally has to, you know, she or he has to go back and try to teach this child what they should have learned between 0 and 5.
Yes.
And then teach them the curriculum that the state's handing them at the same time too.
Or what they're bringing in from home because of some of the things that you talked about earlier. And sometimes it's more than 30. It could be 35 sometimes, unfortunately.
Right,
So
right.
trying to do this sometimes without a teacher's aid. So we appreciate all the teachers out there. And, you know, especially not only our young ones, but when you get to high school, my goodness, some of the stories that just hear is just unreal, you know?
Because those things compound, you know, like you said. That education from 0 to 5, that is one of, not even one, that is the most critical point in a child's life. And things that were missed in that very specific small time frame, it compounds as they get older, because if they didn't get it from home, then you can guarantee they're not gonna get it from home 6 through 10, 10 through 13, 13 through 18. And like you say, as they go up the ladder through school, then they start diverting these children into the system of the Department of Juvenile Services, because these teachers are overburdened. Like you say, they're doing 2 jobs. They're trying to manage this child's emotional regulation and things that are happening in the home and in that environment, and also trying to get them through the academic curriculum. And that's an impossible job for one person to
With
handle.
behavioral issues that could be having from multiple people that are different inside of the class.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
That just goes to teachers should be paid more. I think that's what we've just summed up inside of this 5 minutes.
That's highway robbery. That's highway robbery, man.
They should be paid more.
Yes. But we have a comment. Totally disagree. I think we all come from some skill set. I think if you desire it, you're focused and you achieve it. Oh, yes. I think they might be watching from the watch party a while ago. But carte blanche, yes, we talked about that and we came to that conclusion as well. So whenever you get to this piece, I'll write that back on there. I think she started at a different place. But yes, you are exactly correct.
So I'm interested in your perspective on the connection between income, education, race to behavioral health, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there in terms of who these issues pertain to, and I think that there are misconceptions outside of our community and also within our community, and so we'll break this up in terms of inside the community. What do you say to folks who believe that if I'm an educated parent and I have lots of degrees, I can't have these issues, and neither can my children, because I have a good job and I make good money and I went to school for a very long time and I have lots of plaques on my wall. So my children or me can't have these behavioral issues. What do you say to that parent?
I'm gonna let you handle this.
I'm just like
not
chomping at the bit. That's where that emotional intelligence comes from. You can be a double Harvard graduate and still not get it in that manner, you know? And it tends to be that those people are the most guarded because when you don't feel your best. So, you know, sometimes those people who outperform outwardly, I've got, you know, this many degrees and these things, and they firmly stand on that, it is due to something inwardly
They're
that's
compensating
not
for something
happening.
else, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it also speaks to a level of humility. If you know your child is suffering in some way and you just want to say, you know, they're spoiled. I do these things and you know, those are image driven things. I give them, they've got the nicest car, the nicest toys. I've got these degrees. We live here in this zip code, and you know, they're in private school and so on and so forth. But as Markis said earlier, do you talk to your child? Do you know their friends? You know, when's the last time you guys played, you know, a card game together at home? When's the last time you guys sat at the dinner table as a family with the TV off, just conversing about your days and your different interests? If you can't do that, then who cares about your degrees? You know, and all behavioral issues don't look like disruption. Sometimes it's withdrawal. Sometimes it's isolation. You know, the child, it goes to their room as soon as they come home from school and the door is shut. You know, you don't know your child. You know your child. Oh yeah, they go to Brent Bar and is at the top of her class and she's on honor roll, and then, you know, heaven forbid something happens and everybody's like, oh, no way.
Yeah, not her.
Her family.
Yeah.
Her. Oh my. You know, we see that a lot in the news. A lot of these school shootings and things like that. Oh, his parents. He comes from a good home. Why? You know, and everybody's just so clueless as to how or why this happened. Then you do a little digging and you find out that he was severely isolated. You know, mom and dad divorced, bitter divorce a couple of years ago. You know, a lot of things that are going on within the home. The question was inside of our community. We have this thing where, you know, what happens in this home stays in this home. Absolutely. So you wear that happy face outside. I don't care what's going on in here. You keep that private because no one wants to be questioned on, well, what's happening in the home. People take it as an indictment on them.
Or no one wants the pristine image of their household shattered or questioned.
Right. Because we've got these degrees, we've got all these outward markers of success, but everyone is empty on the inside. You know? So that's what I have to say about a lot of the factors of income, education, you know, where you live, even race, you know, to take it outside of the community. We're all humans at the end of the day. Our struggles are a bit different depending on, you know, racial factors, socioeconomic factors. You know, that's a given here in America. But at the end of the day, we all bleed red. You know, we all have the same emotions, the same feelings. So a lot of those things cross racial barriers. They cross socioeconomic barriers. And, you know, it's a human issue at the end of the day, that emotional part.
What about this perspective? Them kids just bad, and y'all got all these fancy terms for these bad A kids. What do you say to that perspective?
Foolishness.
Say more, expound on that.
Foolishness, because children are nothing but like, come in this world like an empty computer pretty much. What they're programmed to do, that's what they do.
Right.
If you put Microsoft Windows on it, that's what Windows is going to be on. Somebody showed these kids how to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And then the parents may not have shown them that, but the parents were absent or, what's the word, irresponsible in allowing their children to be exposed.
Or negligent.
To these, negligent, that's the word, negligent. In allowing their kids to be exposed to these things, you know? As a parent, you're not just a physical protector, but you're a mental and emotional protector. So if you're allowing your child to be exposed to these things, you failed at your job. Now, I know, you know, people say like, oh, well, you know, it sounds kind of harsh on parents or whatever, but parenting is your #1 job when you become a parent.
And it's a big responsibility.
It's huge, and not everybody's ready for it, but I think one of the things you guys said earlier is that now we have so many resources that are available to anyone for any reason, and all you need is Google. And so that's all you need, or not even, you can ask Siri anything. So, and get to where you need to get to. So before we get to some other comments that we have on the line, I don't know if you have any there, we do like to leave our audience with an acronym. And so I've just taken a couple things here, and I have SEAT. It is making sure that we take a seat. making sure that we pause and sit down with our children and really take a look at ourselves too and recognize, are we struggling with substance abuse? Are we addicted to something that we weren't a year ago? Like, what are we holding on to? So things that you guys have said tonight, which is awesome, is stigmas. Don't attach them to yourself or your children, because that can be such a huge disservice. And oftentimes we attach those, right? And, quite frankly, if your children are being stigmatized from school, check it. Like, it's okay to talk to your teacher, check it. It's okay to ask, hey, what did they do? Help me with what did they do for you to say that, right? Don't laugh it off. So, because your children hear it, and then they internalize it. And then they say, I'm so bad. My teacher told me I'm bad. And not that it's all teachers, I'm saying, or my neighbor told me I'm bad, or somebody said those badass kids, So it's not just teachers, but my point is check whoever it is so you can understand more. That's the S. E, I wrote down, my favorite term of tonight is emotional bankruptcy or emotionally bankrupt. And you helped us with basically that's 0 in your bank account as related to emotional intelligence. Yes. Acknowledging and validating you and your children's feelings, because they're real, right? Important. So that's that A. And then the T, I love what you said about spending time with your child, at least 30 minutes a day, if not more. But that's the minimum. And then when you spend the time, it's not on the iPad or watching TV. It's more asking those questions about their day. That's big.
And even if you don't live with your child, like I love that.
15 minute phone call.
Everybody has FaceTime or some sort of way to reach out. Phone call, FaceTime. There's too much technology to say, oh, I can't make that happen.
And how about even if you and your child's other parent don't get along? Like, it shouldn't matter when it comes to
it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. The child is the individual. Right. Okay. Like the child had nothing to do with whatever happened with the parents. Like, so, hopefully there's a healthy co-parenting where it's healthy enough to say, okay, you can talk to your dad, you can talk to your mom. The child is able to access both of their parents. Oftentimes we see that it's not the case.
Right. It's not all the time the case.
Right. And in the long run, no one's hurt really but the child.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Hold that thought. We got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with the last segment of Now We're Talking. Stay with us. We'll be back in 2.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out. And
exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique, but you're not doing anything in that nature, and I can't take you seriously if you're not doing those things. And I understood why people didn't take me seriously, because I found myself in somebody else's lane. I was good at what I was doing and what I wanted to be, but I wasn't doing it for me. So how can I ask you to take me seriously if I'm living in somebody else's shoes?
And nobody can do what you do, and I think that that's a big problem that people face now. Like, you see what somebody else is doing and you want to do that when that's not your lane.
That's not your lane.
That's not what you're supposed to be doing.
But it's popular, it's getting that person money, it's getting that person applause. Oh, I want applause. I want money. Let me stand over here behind them.
And then a lot of times people aren't honest with themselves either. Like, I was thinking earlier today, I've been woke for almost 2 days, so so you get honesty, yes. And I was thinking, like,
The Artist Exchange Radio Show.
You gonna have my money today.
Man, it is what it is.
Then last week you told me your wife was cooking.
Man, it is what it is.
Then again, I don't think I want your wife cooking because you don't like it.
Well, it is what it is.
This Fly T Miles, also known as Tyree Miles, and Mr. Miles the writer.
Hip Hop K. Check us out every Friday on Be Exposed Radio. It is what it is. 9/11.
Are they ready to? I know they're not ready to accept it, but yeah, exactly. That's my whole thing. Like, how many of them are really ready to think about it like that?
None.
Like
I think the problem is, like, I don't even know how we got here, but it's inbred. you're not born to hate people. You're not born to distinguish between.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
I'm just looking at it like.
Yeah. Welcome back to Now We're Talking. We are here and we've had an amazing show. We're wrapping it up now, but we still got a little bit more for you. So thank you so much for sticking with us and coming on back.
Yes, thank you guys for being here. And thank you too for being here. This has just been such a great conversation.
Yes, we love being here. This is awesome.
We've been talking behavioral health.
Yes.
All show long, and we've learned so much.
Yeah, we've been talking behavioral health from the signs, when you should seek help, and how there's so much free help out here. We talked about Google, we talked about Siri, we talked about signs you guys mentioned, and definitely if you're just tuning in, make sure you go back, because these are really good things that you can see in your children and you can see in yourself. You talked about isolation, you talked about acting out in school. We talked about labels. We talked about stigmas. We talked about having a seat, right? SEAT. If you didn't hear it, make sure you go back and listen to it. So talk to us a little bit about, this is our segment where we wrap up. So tell us how people can get in touch with you guys by email or any other way.
Well, they can email us at mark@ubhsonline.com.
I love it.
Our office is located at 1 North Charles Street, 4th floor. The old child support building in downtown Baltimore.
1 North Charles Street, I'm pretty.
Office phone number is 443-449-5135, and our website is www.unlimitedbounds.com. All right?
Yes, thank you. Did you have anything to add?
That's the long and the short of it.
The long and the short of
So
it.
tell us, I don't think we ever got into it. Where are you all from?
Well, I'm originally from Baltimore. I moved to North Carolina at a very young age.
Okay.
Came back to go to the great Morgan State.
All right.
Yes.
MORGANSTATE.
That's
Those
right.
of you that
That's
are
right.
trying to keep up with it.
Right. Right.
I
Love
am
it.
originally from Las Vegas, Nevada. I left Las Vegas and went to the illustrious Hampton University. Proud Pirate.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah,
I think I
might have heard of it. We got our homecoming coming up this
Wonderful
weekend,
school.
so go Pirates.
Wonderful school. Go Pirates.
I've been in the Baltimore area for, 2019, about 8 years now. And I've met my amazing husband, so, made Baltimore my home. And so, yeah.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's awesome. One of the things I learned, I was sharing before the show that I visited Hampton this summer with my son, trying to get him mentally college ready. And one of the things I learned that I didn't know is that Hampton has one of the most well-known, most well-respected business schools in the country. So I think it's very, I don't believe in coincidences. I think it's very fitting that here you are years later, running a business, a very successful business, a business that is very necessary to the community, and a business that is making a difference, and that will be a part of your legacy.
Absolutely. Yes, I
years in the future. So it's amazing.
A passion of ours. Mental health, behavioral health. We also do substance abuse. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, but it's definitely something we feel very strongly about, and we believe that it should be accessible. We talked about accessibility during the break, that it's not just for a particular subset of people. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we're all human. We all have emotions, and we all go through peaks and valleys through life. That's just the way that this thing has been set up for us all. And at different times, you may need a little bit more help to be on your way to be your best self, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I know for us, what we like to impart upon people is that we do our work. Do the work. We talked about empowering the consumers. It's your life, take charge of it. It's not for anyone else to dictate your trajectory. You choose those things, and you should do that in full confidence that what you want your life to look like and be like, it can absolutely be like that, but you've got to do the work. Yeah.
It's all about doing the work. I mean, we talk about that a lot here, is doing your work to set you up for the success that is just around the corner. Like, you got to do the work. You can't just wake up and think, oh, it's going to come to me. You got to work for this thing. And so we appreciate you guys being here. We wanted to, I'm just going to call out a couple people who have been here for the longevity. Well, you might have to first, because I have to go figure out how to look at it. But yeah, you want to do some shout outs?
All right. Let's see. Let's start from the top here.
I don't know how to get back.
Danielle Anderson, thanks for your comment. Yes, a lot of us did suffer. I mean, what he specifically talked about right here, saying that nail on the head. A lot of us suffer from PTSD and could have used a program like yours growing up. That is very true, especially as African Americans. We have intergenerational PTSD, right? You know, and we teach that to the generation. Hopefully, we can, more so tap into the services that can help us deal with our the conditions we've been subjected to here in this new world of America. And
absolutely.
Let's see. And I agree with you also too, Aaron Clark. I think it's important not to immediately rush to medicate the youth. Absolutely. Very important. I think that's very important as well too, because there are other coping mechanisms for the youth instead of just immediately rushing to medication.
Right.
But the way the system's kind of gearing up to is they want it's a lot easier to give a person a pill than a person. But just be mindful of that. Don't reject the diagnosis of your child, but say, hey, do we have any alternatives that we can do besides going strictly to medication?
Absolutely. So Adrian, hey, thank you so much. Mark, appreciate you being on. We have Andre every week. Thank you. Tonette, Tyrone, Lorraine, hello. Tell my grandma I said hi. Niels, Naquan, Keisha, thank you for being here. Joy, Carte Blanche, appreciate you. Maxine, hi. Tina, hello. Deidre, we've had a great show tonight. Kevin, Vivian, thank you guys for being here. Marlon, and for those of you I accidentally didn't call, just thank you guys so much. And please share, because I think we had such a great discussion. Right. And for you want to give any thanks for sharing and caring?
Well, we're very limited on time, so what I'm going to do is jump into how they can reach us.
Absolutely.
And you can email us directly at nowwe'retalkinglive@gmail.com. You can view tonight's show and any of our past shows on Facebook on the Now We're Talking Radio Show Facebook page or the Be Exposed Radio Facebook page. In terms of your personal business.
Yes.
LolitaWalker.com.
LolitaWalker.com. Yes. So for those of you guys who don't know, I am a TEDx speaker. And my TEDx talk came out today, so I will put that inside of the comments today. I would love for you to view it, and if it sat with you, I'd love for you to like it and then share it. My goal, I'm big on goals and articulating what those are, and so my goal is by December 31st of 2020, I will have 1 million views, because I want to impact 1 million people by next year. And I'm all about, this year was about being heard and seen in 2019. Next year is about surrendering to plenty in 2020. So I'm all on it. Thank you. So also you have a men's retreat coming up.
I do. I have the 2019 Men's Wellness Retreat is coming up. It's going to be in Potomac, Maryland at a beautiful location that I've scoped out and secured. November 15th to 17th. The theme of this year's retreat is Better Men, Better Fathers, Better Futures. So please check it out on mervinbourne.com/retreat. It's going to feature expert-led workshops and experiences from so many different professionals in so many different aspects, including Lolita, who will be doing professional life coaching. We'll have mixology experts, physical fitness experts, spiritual wellness experts, massage therapists. It's going to be amazing. It's meant to be holistic. It's meant to be a timeout. It's meant to reinstill balance into your lives as a busy, possibly stressed, overworked, overwhelmed, hardworking man, and send you back out into the world, to your family and to your friends, refreshed, re-energized, and fully prepared to take over the world. So check out the website. There are 2 spots left, mervinbourne.com/retreat.
Yes. And of course, I have my women's retreat, but I'll tell you about it next week. All right, thank you guys for being here, and we'll check you next week.
And don't forget to pick up our books, both available on lolitawalker.com and mervinbourne.com, as well as amazon.com. The Intersection of You and Change by Lolita, and A Single Mother's Guide to Raising a Son by myself.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
See you
Have
next
an
week.
amazing week. Now we're talking.
All right.
White keys only have this bitch jumping.
Okay. I sit around.